ahí cuando en realidad lo que tenemos que ensayar vos no tenés que hacer el cheque, porque tu guitarra tiene que ir fija. En realidad tampoco, no sé si lo tenés que ensayar con... Sí, pero lo vas a tocar con una C, ¿no? Una eléctrica, sí.
Depende como vos quieras.
Yo le pondría también una acústica.
Yo también. Para que quede un poco
Una,
más...
sí, para que quede más pillé.
So we are quite contained, but we do move forward, like we are upstage, and we do move forward this way. And the idea for me was to have sort of like flickering movements, and let's say if you do some, just the one movement, I would probably go.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. I set a sequence that I think embodies that, and I thought that you could insert yourself.
Okay.
But maybe it's just better if we both improvise as we just did and we film and set it from there.
Yeah. Well,
Let's try both approaches. I'm curious. I was thinking maybe it saves half of the work, but maybe it makes it really complicated and it doesn't help at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's your part.
Now's my part.
Let's say if you have sort of specific like points all over and around you, sometimes you can, let's say I think, okay, maybe there is one here, and it gives these kind of small, you do it already, I think, angles, and then I do something else, and then maybe I think, pum, pum.
Okay. Yeah.
And yeah, it's just sometimes to enhance and give a little bit of a...
Yeah.
Entonces yo ahora practico los solitos. I practice the little solos. Voy a practicar los solitos porque nosotros preparamos toda una parte para la clínica. Lani, you do it straight. You do the part, he goes away.
Yeah, but who's doing the part?
No, you.
What we do sometimes, let's say I want to choreograph fire. One approach that works very well with some dancers, and I think with Irvin and me it works very well, is you improvise with an idea. For example, we say fire has to be fast, sharp movements and close together. So we improvise with these 3 parameters. We film ourselves. As we watch back, we give a few more tasks, so we layer the process. And then let's say we arrive at an improvised product, because we film ourselves all the time, where we say, oh yeah, you know what, we really like this one. But then, from video, we learn the steps that before we improvise. So we did them intuitively. And often what happens is when you improvise, your body is very fast and quite and does very intricate things that you could never come up with when you go through the rational or hard drive of the brain, setting material from beginning on.
Do I decide to plant Chardonnay? Do I decide to plant Cabernet Franc? Do I decide to plant Pinot? Am I going to train the vine to go a certain height? Am I going to have it going in a fan manner? Am I going to have to be on a wire? Am I going to do a double wire so I have more canes for more volume? Then you have to decide when you pick accordingly to your, what do you want, more sugar, more acid, you want to preserve certain elements more. All those decisions, at least up to sale, are all informed by true science, if you want. Everything has to do with soil and plants and everything is called agronomy. And everything that has to do with the science of winemaking is called enology. So these two sciences today, as we speak, will give you about 25 to maybe 30% of the answers as to what goes on in the process of all what goes to do with vineyard and all what goes with wine. Even in the most fabricated way, we don't understand fully what we're dealing with. All the decisions we take at all stage are as informed as science has been able to back it up. But when you take a decision knowing that you only control 25 to 30% of what you do, that leaves a huge segment of unknown. If you decide to create a product or to work with a fabricated product, that is fine. Try to be as diligent as you can be. Try to create things that's consumable. If you decide, on the other hand, to create wines like the way we do, they're a different animal. They require a lot more attention to detail because we work without net. If we fall, we crash. We spit because if we drink everything.
I knew this question would be coming. How would you define creativity? Okay, you're running.
It's a commitment with the journey.
Creativity exists in all things, and furthermore, I do believe that creativity exists in all people.
The expression of creativity is an idea.
You're trying to come up with something that says something.
The manifestation of creativity is going to change by domain. What constitutes creativity in the arts is a very different thing from what constitutes creativity in engineering.
It's in the manner in which you do things, the manner in which you approach it that will say that you're creative or just reproducive of a pattern that was taught to you to function.
Creativity tends to have an authenticity to it, even if it's not in accord with current practice.
You know what, why not? Let's it's also, I think, to how do we develop the skills. So let's do once more what I said with the phrase, then a bit slower, and then maybe we just improvise again. I'm just also curious, how do we build our understanding? I think for the moment it seems like the counterpoint works very well.
Creativity has to change people and make them feel in a womb. We're talking now about doing a building. We don't do it according to a design that could be phenomenal to be published. We're doing it according to what Earth demands in that point. before building anything, go on the site, have lunch there, stay there for hours until it reveals what it has to be done there. Because we are building on Earth. Creativity is, for me, to respond to the need that Earth suggests so that we can form a building, a structure that is blessing people that are using it.
Over the years, you develop markers, which are your own, which will allow you to see what happens before it happens. You need to be able to foresee within the process what may happen and to catch it before it happens and correct it, or not correct it, because again, we don't put stuff in it, but to at least tweak it in the direction where it will find a point of balance again. We avoid catastrophe. We avoid things that may deviate the product from where it's heading at. So in order to develop those markers, it's just years of exposure. It's just a lot of work. It's just a lot of repeating of the same thing over and over and over and over, but with attention at every single stage. Every time you do it, you pay attention. And every time, over the time, you observe different things.
Okay. So I thought what we do is with the phrase, I'm gonna dance it quite slowly, and you basically need to follow me.
I copy.
No, insert yourself.
Insert.
Insert. Yeah.
Arrangements, and that is a delightful combination there with Nina Simone, the new one, the Brazil connection. How about some Booker T and the MGs? Well, you know this one. Steve Cropper, Booker T, Green Onions, Jazz FM 91.
It's a number of things that happens. I feel the weight transfers that you can feel through your pelvis here. I use that a lot because I feel it directly, the feet reflect into it. So if I, let's say, push through my foot, it usually sequences somewhere through my hip. Even if I just go straight up, I feel a connection here, and then maybe I change direction through the hip. So hip-foot sort of goes together. Let's just stay with that. Well, we're working hard today, huh?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Taking breaks is always important. Because there's always, I feel, there's so much going on, you don't even know all the things that you're processing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I am going to be working with someone and I want them to come alive, it's very important that I deal with them in terms of the life that they are leading and the problems that they are facing. So a lot of coaches will develop a plan. We're going to do this and this and this. Well, that's not how we live our lives. We live our lives on the basis of this is what's coming at us today, at this moment, and whatever, and we have to deal with it. The tool that I use allows me to help an individual understand the difference between the way that they've been socialized in the first 25 years of their life and what's really inside them. Because the reality is that until you know what your key motivators are and what the key interests that drive you, I don't mean skills, I mean interests. If you understand those two things and respect those, your external behavior will become naturally adaptable, flexible, and productive.
It was also very hot, and family members and relatives were bringing in blocks of ice and placing them on the bodies to try and stave off the decay. The whole area really smelled of death. And, Rabat was really, the attack on Rabat marked the beginning, I think, or the end of the ability to have mass, real mass.
Okay, now the fins. Fins. What color to make the fins?
Thousands of people went behind him because that person gave a lot to the community in which he lived. But there is a special friend who was my office manager when I was running the office in the farm. He wanted to live in a democracy. He did not have a job. So he was working.
Any thoughts coming to mind about the fins?
No.
To provide themselves.
I'll move on to something else. It'll come. It's not like. I'm just trying to pick areas that have the most white area, and then I'll take that and then I'll dispense it out with this.
For you and many former Muslim Brotherhood members from being able to the streets during the Mubarak regime, and we went to the streets for 4 principles: economic progress, freedom, social justice, and human dignity.
When you hear somebody who is, in third-year university and they're taking the jazz theory class and they're taking lessons and they're studying jazz history and they're taking the improv class, they tend to sound like everything is, chord, scale, form, and the musical voice, the musicality, the creative aspect isn't there. And it takes a long time to get outside of that box, to know what that box is and what's in it and how to use it, but then to kind of forget about it and get to a point where it becomes more creating music.
We've got an organization, let's say it's a big bank, and they are looking for 5 management trainees. So they get down to 5. And they offer them, and those 5 individuals are thrilled. They have got, the cat that got up the cream, they've done it. And for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years, our 5 graduates spend time lopping off all the stuff that is individualizing, so that they become the perfect replica of the core pole. And they're very good at their job. And after 10 years, the chief operating officer invites them into his office and congratulates them and says, Augusto, we are so thrilled with your work. We are making you a vice president. We look forward to your creativity. And the poor sod dies. They've spent 10 years getting rid of it. My job is to reconnect that individual to their innate creativity. It's not easy.
yellow, red, green, blue. This is fuck. Green.
I look at the score, and you hand the parts out to the people in the ensemble, and what's on that page, you know, you've got your black and white notes and your key signature and your dynamics and it says, you know, quarter note equals 120 and swing, and it's, you know, in 4/4. Well, that is about 30-40% of what it really needs, or the information that those students really need in order to create a powerful performance. Like at this point, I can go to a high school and work with a high school band that might be average, nothing spectacular, but with the information that I'm giving them and talking about how to play things and do things and put things together and giving them tricks and giving them ideas of how to make this music do what it wants to do, and I call it just putting the energy in the music. And there are technical things that you can do to get the energy into the music, you know, articulations and time placement and shapes of notes and dynamics and cutoffs and balance and sound quality and intonation. All of those things that when they're all in place, the music has way more energy than if those things aren't in place. And that in turn gives me energy. So I can leave some of those things after I've done a 2-hour session, you know, working really hard with them physically. I can leave those kinds of sessions and be ridiculously energized from it. And that, I think, is the biggest kick.
If you're just combining things in a new way, then I think it can happen inside of your brain. But if you all of a sudden have this light bulb experience, you know, where without you ever having to go through the process of thinking it out, it's just there from one moment to the other. The idea drops into your consciousness, then I think it is this typical situation of an inspiration. And when we come to that, I think it's coming from somewhere else. It's not from within us. It is from outside of us.
Imagination is also where you are starting a day and you're being confronted with problems. When you hit a problem, you either crash, get frustrated, tense up, or you react to it and you find a solution. Finding a solution is creative. They're actually from your continent, Araucana, they're called.
Araucana.
Araucana.
Uh-huh.
They're beautiful chickens. Like those ones, like those are the bigger version. You will always project your innermost conviction, desires, and basically what you're made of. What do I privilege in life? I like wines with elegance. It has to be digestible. It has to make you feel like eating and drinking more wine. And wine is fun in this way, that any wine that is made in a less interventionist way, for some absolutely obscure reason that I don't know of, does somehow reflect the personality of the person who made it. We consume wines because they produce an effect on us. That ethyl alcohol will induce an altered state in you. A lot of things in life put us in an altered state. If you fall in love, you will be in an altered state. I will hope that the product that is being crafted is as respectful of the inner elements that allow it to become what it is. All what it's constituted of at any given point, from grapes or even from the ground or even from what the bedrock that the ground is on, all of these things will translate into the grapes and will translate to the wine. And I believe that life has a capacity to organize itself with its parameters with our help.
we have to distinguish that there are very different types of creativity. There is not just one type of creativity, and I don't want to say that we have visual and auditory creativity or narrative creativity and constructive creativity, but I think we have to distinguish where the source of the creativity comes from, where we are tapping into it and how we are using it. Because creativity in terms of invention, you always think it must be future oriented because there must be something new. You know, you are creating something from zero. You know, you are really creating it. So, but any creation needs material, and material is always something that's already there. You don't invent the material.
Okay. It's all good. It's not 100%. It doesn't.
It's different.
I think I have a little bit of the feeling that I might need to set it, like based on that.
Yeah.
But to set, maybe I just need to come up with something.
It's interesting because it's got more connections, but it's different from the very first few ones we did. The very first few ones are more frantic almost.
Yes, they are. That's true. They are more frantic.
There's like a fire, more of a fire in them.
Okay, let's say here it was this one. Forget about my movement here. Let's say we have you. So great move. We do this, this, do. This is nice. This was good from your side. I need to do something else there. Up to there.
Okay.
Yeah.
6 Reliance Now. Because at Reliance, we're not comfortable until you are.
Q107 is CILQ FM, a Chorus Entertainment station.
Very nice.
I had this classical old Chinese Tai Chi teacher, like I had the old master, and there's one thing he told me that of all the things he told me, there's one thing I remember the most. And it was at the beginning. He said, in life, everything will decay. Everything you are will decay. Body, it's all going to go back into the ground at some point or wherever. But the only thing in your life that will keep growing to your deathbed is your mind. In Chinese, they talk about the mind here, right? But we can give it all sorts of, depending culturally, it can be situation, and a lot of things, but it talks about the mind. And he told me, if you don't start cultivating it now, you're in trouble. And he was basically saying, your mind, you should have the goal in your life to die with your best idea. That is a very creative process. It's certainly my goal. I don't know if I will be successful at it, but it's certainly my goal. It's to die with my best idea. I love that. I love this idea, this image. It's very stimulating.
The absence of creativity is largely a function of corporate culture. Why do you think innovation is so hard in large organizations? One of the huge mistakes that organizations have made is that they have actually had people, and it's everywhere, somebody in charge of innovation. Stop and think about that. You mean, if I'm not in charge of innovation or I'm not in the innovation department, I have no responsibility to contribute to the renewal of the organization?
Of course, you can say, well, creativity for the sake of creativity is enough. You can say creativity for the sake of creating more beautiful music, more beautiful art, more beautiful architecture, more beautiful whatever. You know, that's the purpose of creativity. I think creativity is a necessity for our species to survive, because we need it to reinvent everything that we are doing.